Hello there and welcome to Cannibal Diva Chronicles, where uplifting the downtrodden is our focus. I'm Cannibal Diva and I'd like to show a video of a young boy about the age of 10 interacting with his father, and it's such a heartbreaking interaction that I decided to share it. This is a video that I watched on mental illness. It's a self-proclaimed man that suffers from narcissist personality disorder that has been very open about his journey with his experiences being a narcissist and how he interacts with his partners and also people in his life. And he's been very forthcoming about the things that have occurred in his life and how it has impacted him and caused him to realize the error of his ways. And now he has decided to move ahead and get the help he requires to live a very more healthy life with those around him. And this video was posted by him a few weeks ago, and I just like to share it with you because I watched it and I felt a very tight knot within my heart for this young boy, as this boy had gone to visit his father, who is estranged from his mother. And this boy had been very, very harshly rebuked and reprimanded by his father for not being too pleased or happy with his experiences during his short visit with his father. I'm not quite sure how long he had stayed already. I believe it was just a few days, and already he was complaining that he wasn't happy being there and he would rather go home to his mother. This is according to his father, who is expressing how angry and upset and disappointed he is in his son. This video is going to show you some ways that the narcissist accuses and gaslights and attacks their victims. A narcissist doesn't care whether the victim is a child. It doesn't care if that victim is their child. They don't want to know if that victim is a loved one, because to them, everyone is a fair target. And it's unfortunate that this young boy has to experience this side of his father. And I would have expected or hoped, for the sake of this boy, that maybe the mother would have warned him before he went to visit his father, that there is a chance that there's going to be some backlash, and to watch the way he interacts with his father. Not to badmouth the father, but to prepare the son. Being that the son is only 10 years old, that's probably why the mother said or didn't say anything to him, because I'm not quite sure if she did. Some of the things that this father said to this boy, I'm going to express to you today, is for you to give me your own feedback, whether he was right or wrong in saying these things to his son. One statement he said is, he says the boy had the nerve to choose his mother over me. He said, this boy has the nerve to choose his mother over me. The fact that the boy said he preferred to go back to a home that he probably experiences more love and affection and more attention, or just being more comfortable with the way the things are done, being that he spends majority of his time with his mother, was a no-no for this narcissist. He was so upset and hurt and pained that at some point he started to refer to this young 10-year-old boy as gay. That is something that I just couldn't get past, that he kept referring to this young 10-year-old boy as gay. For example, I quote, he would say, "Oh, you hurt my feelings, gay, and I'll let the world know you can't take that back, gay. I'm going to give you what you want, gay." He kept repeating that word, and every time he would repeat the word gay, you could tell that he was trying to hit a nerve in this young boy. He was trying to hurt him as much as he had felt the boy had hurt him. He was trying to, in other words, get back at this young boy by calling him gay. In the world we live today, it's very, very clear that the gay rights activists out there and people who are gay, as a matter of fact, are looked upon as equal. We're all equal in the eyes of the law. Nobody's more, better, or less. But the fact that this man probably thought that using that word would be like a knife in this boy's heart is very clear that that was his intention. He used it as an insult. I have my own views of all of that, but obviously this is not a forum where I'm going to discuss my views. The whole idea of me bringing this up is for people to see how narcissists interact with those that they consider either family members or friends or loved ones in their lives. And many times they do this in the privacy of their own homes, or where there is no one to see them, judge them, or point fingers at them. When there's no one to point accusing figures at them, it's easy for them to show their true colors. And the fact that this video was recorded is scary. Do you know why it's scary? Because the fact that he had the nerve, this narcissistic father had the nerve to record this, thinking that the world would empathize with him. He actually believed that recording this and putting it out there in social media was a good thing. So you can imagine the kind of things he's saying behind closed doors that nobody has heard. So for this boy to really want to run home to his mother, or to somewhere where he's not spoken to in that manner, or somewhere where he feels loved, or somewhere where he feels accepted, it's not surprising to me. He also says, I'm going to give you what you want, gay. And as he says that, the boy's eyes, you can just see his face and his eyes, how his arms are raised over his head at some point in shock. He says to his son, after everything I've done for you, boy, I take you out to have fun. Just a few minutes ago, we went out, I bought you some stuff. We're doing this and we're doing that. And he sounded so angry and so offended. And he kept repeating, you hurt my feelings. You hurt my feelings. And the world is going to hear this, and nothing you can say is going to take that back, gay. This is to a 10-year-old boy. This is the outlash, the backlash, and the offensive tirade of a grown ASS man to a 10-year-old. And that is usually how the narcissist behaves. They have meltdowns over the slightest infringements of their so-called rights, or over the slightest perceived hurt or disagreements. They do not have a filter. They do not have a way of containing or maintaining composure when they feel they've been disrespected, or when they feel they have been slighted, or when they feel somebody has stepped on their toes. And many times, it's something that is very often in their lives, something that happens very frequently, because they always feel that somebody is there trying to either disrespect them, hurt them, abuse them, take advantage of them. They are the victims, the classic victims that always believe they are on the receiving end of insults from their counterparts. And many times this is not the case. What they perceive as insults and usually normal interactions that normal human beings have with each other, and people are able to reason through it. But to them, it's very painful to accept the fact that there's something missing somewhere. There's a knot loose somewhere. And many times when they pretend not to care, when a narc starts to pretend that they do not care when something is done to them that they consider to be offensive towards them, they have something that they're planning or plotting against you. Many a times, instead of shouting in anger or having this tirade or outburst that you see this father having with his son, they keep it in. It doesn't happen so often, but mind you, when you see this behavior of a narcissist, holding back, containing kind of holding back their response, or holding back their reactions, be very wary of what they're planning. Be very afraid, because this narcissist is planning something a lot worse for you. And many a times they will, if they're not able to hold back or contain their anger, they will start threatening the person. Like this father had threatened that he was going to let the whole world know how ungrateful his son was. By videoing his son and then placing it and putting it on social media, he had then gone ahead to fulfill his promise to his son. He was trying to embarrass the son and let the world know how ungrateful this 10-year-old son of his was. Instead of this, obviously, it is quite obvious that he has exposed himself for who he is. Someone that lacks control, someone that lacks empathy, someone that lacks common sense, someone that should not be called a father. And I watched this on Father's Day, and I was going to post it on Father's Day, but I didn't want to ruin people's appetites. I know there are a lot of fathers out there that deserve so much applause. They deserve love. They deserve all the thanks for all the good work they do. One of them is Dr. Iniche, who I watch, who is a pastor that my sister and I are avid listeners to. And his daughter was just on a video that I posted on my page recently, and she was hugging him and just looking up in his eyes so lovingly and just expressing in words and in action how grateful she was to have a father like that. And I felt so touched, because I could sense that this relationship was going to impact upon the life of this young lady who recently got married a few years ago. It was going to impact upon her life in such a positive way that she would then transfer, if she ever has daughters, she will also transfer this feeling and this trait to her future daughters, and letting them know that they had to have this connection with their fathers, because that is how generational curses and blessings are passed on. When a father behaves in such a malicious way, they lack empathy, they lack insight, they lack any kind of future projection of what their actions will entail or what their actions will cause in future for that child. When they're not able to project their thoughts into the future to say, if I speak to this boy or if I speak to this person in this manner, there's likely to be some rebound effect, or there's likely to be some effect that it will cause this child to become such an angry child that they're going to also transfer this aggression to their future partners or their future loved ones. Because I'm teaching this child that this is the way to interact with loved ones, especially their future spouses, girlfriends, wives. Nowadays, you see many teenagers, you see on social media how a teenager just went off the hook, either beats a girlfriend, hurt them, slashed their tires, show so much anger and aggression towards their girlfriends or their loved ones. And you wonder where all of this is coming from. You wonder where all of this pent-up anger, where all of this pent-up emotion, where all of this pent-up angst is coming from. Don't look too far. You don't need to look much further than fathers like this, who just express so much, it's as if all the pain they felt within the last few weeks is just transferred. It's misplaced aggression. It's transferred to the young lad. Children like this, I would really think would need therapy in the long run. It's expensive. Therapy is expensive. Having somebody come talk to them, it's like somebody who has been through a hurricane or someone who has been through a natural disaster or like a life-changing event that has impacted upon their psyche and has impacted upon their lives in a very drastic manner. Sometimes they say they need to be debriefed. They need to be taken aside and spoken to. They need to be, sort of reintroduced into the real world without having so much negative, feelings or so much negative thoughts about the future. Because what has happened to them has completely changed their worldview, and now they have lost hope, or they feel as if nothing would ever be better going forward for them. So they need to be debriefed and spoken to, and they need psychological help many times. And it's as simple as having a social worker come in and just speak to them about their thoughts, get them to bring all of those thoughts out of their system that is actually they're harboring in their hearts. And many people don't speak these thoughts out, but they go to bed with these thoughts, running around in their mind, and they go to bed or they talk to people and they have things like this at the back of their minds that affect their relationships in future. You don't want a child, we don't want to bring up children that are walking around the world feeling unloved, unwanted, maltreated, and children that will, in other words, take on this role of becoming narcissists in future, because that is what they see, or that's what they've seen while growing up. It is our duty as parents to try our best not to make our children, or not to make those who God has given us to care for as guardians, our dumping ground for all of our hatred and all of our wickedness. The narcissist doesn't have love. They do not know, like I've said this many times, they do not know what love means. I heard something recently that gave me a very good insight about the way the narcissistic mind works. Because I continually do my research and I continually go on to, read more about or learn more in any way, in any kind of context, about how they interact with the world. And recently I got to find out that the narcissist does not have love, not because of any other reason, but because, one, they didn't grow up probably feeling love and acceptance from their loved ones or their parental figures. I've mentioned that before. But one of the main reasons is because many of them then, instead of turning what has happened to them into good by saying, I will never let how I felt growing up, become the fact, or become my child's story. I will make it different for my child. I want my child to have a better life than I did. I would say maybe 20% of people who have suffered trauma, or even more, do not want their loved ones to suffer the same. But you have the ones in the different category that have experienced pain growing up, who have then become very angry people, who have then become very vindictive people, feeling like there's no love in the world, and they've then turned into monsters, so to speak. And because they have then either gone about trying to hurt people physically, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, and psychologically every single day, they have given their life, they've given their souls away to the devil by so doing. Because in the devil, there is no light, there is no love, there is no peace, there's only darkness. And because the devil cannot create light and cannot create joy, when these people give their light and everything they've given, because they've sold their souls to perdition, I like to say that, and also because their souls have been seared, their conscience has been seared, they do not have any iota of love within themselves. God is love. The Bible tells us that God is love. So when these people, not having any love in them, being completely full of darkness and devoid of joy, devoid of peace, devoid of all the trace of what God calls love, they cannot create any good thing then, therefore. And then they look to those who have it. They look to those who have love. They look to those who are godly, who have light. They look to those who have all the things that they wish they had. And they become parasites to these people. If these people unwittingly allow them in, they join in, just like we learned in science while growing up, how a parasite lives off his host. They live off the flesh, or they live off the emotional light or the emotional power of their victims. How do they do that? You might ask. They do that by traumatizing their victims, because when their victims react, that is the feedback that gives them the energy they need. When their victims cry, or when their victims are inconsolable because of their bad treatment towards them, the feedback they got from their victims, the fear they see, the loss of hope they see, everything that happens with their victims while they are lashing at their victims, screaming at their victims, maltreating their victims, doing all kinds of manipulative tactics against them, the feedback they get is what they are stealing from the victim. It's like sucking somebody dry. They're taking all of this love, hope, joy from the victim. And then they themselves are happier because they can see that the victim is now sad, and they're happy because of that. It's like they've switched places. You don't have to be a witch flying on a broom to be called a witch. I've said this before in one of my videos. God is witchcraft. It's manipulation of somebody else to get them to do your will. That is what witchcraft is. When you manipulate another human being and you focus on getting them to do your will, that is witchcraft. Manipulation can be physical or spiritual or psychological or mental. It could take different forms. Yes, so when this happens, when they suck somebody dry, the person becomes devoid of that light that they had initially. That's why many people consider them to be energy vampires. Many people consider them to be parasites. I think energy vampires is a better terminology. Because when someone is being maltreated, they lose all kinds of energy, spiritually, physically, mentally. You find that people just become so exhausted emotionally. They don't even have the fight in them anymore. You can see in this little boy's face that he's just kind of tired. He doesn't even have any, at this point, he can't even say anything. This guy has made up his mind that this boy is a monster. He's called his son everything, but, he's called him everything in the book. And at this rate, the boy is just like exhausted. And you can tell that the boy can't really wait. You can't blame him to go back to his mom, to go back to a place where there's peace. There's no peace around the narcissist. But the Bible also tells us something. There's no peace for the wicked. As long as the narcissist is terrifying people every day with their wickedness, the Bible tells us that there is no peace for the wicked. As long as they make themselves into tyrants and make themselves into abusers, bullies, and all kinds of negative things to their partners or to their loved ones, there will be no peace for them as well. There's an adage that says that the child that does not let the mother or the father sleep at night is awake and will never have peace themselves. As long as that child is crying, they can't sleep. So even though they are waking up the parents, they themselves won't sleep. You know, it's so important at the end of this video for me to say one thing, because I know that many of you might have different views of this, of what I'm going to say now. Yesterday, my sister and I were going to go out for a walk just to evangelize, but the weather wasn't the best. It started to rain very, very heavily. And I told myself, like, you know, even though I'm not able to go out and evangelize like I would like to, I'd like to evangelize take this opportunity to talk about God today. And I'm going to do that once in a while because, you know, it's quite amazing that many people do not know the saving grace of God. The grace of God in the context of being someone that has given their life to Christ, in other words. I watch many videos of NDEs, near-death experiences, and I've seen many people talk about if they had known or if a loved one had told them about the reality of life and death and told them about heaven and hell and told them that heaven existed for real and that hell existed for real, they would have made different choices. And that is why I'm going to let you all know today that God exists, even as much as the devil does as well. There cannot be darkness. There cannot be light without darkness. And darkness exists because darkness is void of light. I would like to use this opportunity today to let you all know that despite all that I express about the narcissist, I personally have had a relationship with one, and I've completely forgiven that narcissist. Because that is what the Bible tells us to do. You cannot have complete freedom from the narcissist if you harbor hatred for the narcissist. You cannot have complete freedom when you yourself are shackled by the hurts and the misdeeds they've done against you. The whole idea and the whole purpose of me doing videos like this is to educate people, especially women who happen to be the majority of those who have gone through narcissistic relationships, is to educate them of what's going on, to let them know it's not their fault, and to let them know not to lose hope, and most importantly, not to hurt themselves, and to give strategies on how they can prevent all kinds of negative interactions with the narcissist in order to protect their health and their well-being, especially mental health. That is not to say that we should hate the narcissist for what they do. It's to say we should be avoidant of them. Avoid any negative interaction with them in as much as it's possible. Stay away from them. Avoiding is not hatred. Avoiding is protecting your mental health and protecting yourself from the harm that comes with it. Please watch this video and let me know what you think. In the meantime, I wish you all a beautiful week ahead. I pray that you're going to have the best out of this week and that you have good luck, joy, peace, and happiness. Thank you for tuning into Cannibal Diva Chronicles. Bye.
And I'm not saying that this man is a narcissist, but just stay tuned. I'm going to break it down.
I want the world to see this person right here. This is my son. People, I ain't never heard nobody talk about this, so let me be the first one, because I know I can't be alone. This boy is 12 years old. I've been in his life, all his life, except for the times that when his mama kept him away. You know, this boy had the nerve to say he don't like me and don't want to come to my house, and that he missed the times with his family, speaking of his mama family, and not his daddy's side of the family, like we don't exist, right? So he said this is taking up time. He said the 2 days that he spent over here feel like a whole week. And then he's not even looking forward to the 30 days he have to spend over here for summer. He said he don't want to come over here at all. Like, I'm a bad person. Like, I've traumatized him and did anything wrong to this little boy. We have done so much stuff, so much fun things.
Listen.
Spend time together, play basketball together, go amusement parks, go swimming, take ride in toys like this.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a nerve to choose his mama. Look at the camera, Gabe. Choose his mama over me like I'm around here treating him wrong. What kid don't want to be around their daddy? Please tell me. And as a daddy, this hurt because I know his mama got something to do with it too.
Mm-hmm.
But still, he's old enough to make his own decisions.
Yes.
And he chooses mama over his daddy, his flesh and blood. Somebody that can teach him how to be a man, but he want to be up under a woman all day. Look at the camera, Gabe. Tell the people how you don't love your daddy and how you rather be with your mama and time over here is boring and you don't want to spend time with your daddy. Tell people how you don't want to spend time with your daddy. And he act like I haven't been picking him up all these years. Like, what is the problem? Like, this not your first time at my house. But yeah, he hurt my feelings, world. He really hurt my feelings, and you can't take that back, Gabe. I'm gonna give you what you want, and I'm gonna erase myself out of your life. I'm gonna give you what you want, Gabe. That is so messed up on so many levels. I would never tell my daddy nothing like that. My daddy was in my life. I would never tell my dad because I know that would hurt my daddy's feelings. I would never tell my daddy nothing like that ever.
So I tried my best to block out the little boy's face. But just wanted to